we are up to Eis Zion. So he finished saying that this is also why the Gemara learns from our pasuk of Leisavaru Eish, which is the main, so far, the main beat of the Maimer, why the Torah singles out the Inyan of Eish. And the previous Inyan is, after the many levels of explanation, the Gemara, the Shalah, and the Pnimius of the Shalah, is because Shabbos is a higher Avodah. Bechlal, the Avodah is Avodah Tzadikim, that's during the week, as it were. To Mamshech, the Eish, the Eir. Sorry? Yep, Mamshech, the Eish, Lamata, the Eir, Lamata, and he explained why it's called Eish. Because Tiva is to ascend, and secondly, because it requires Bittul. But that's the Avodah of what? Bechlal. But someone who's transgressed requires the Avodah, much higher Avodah, because that's blemished. And he hasn't built his world, and he's missing in the three kavim. So therefore, the Amshach has to be not from higher, from Eish, but from the Tzur. V'samticha b'nikras hatzur, that the Eibishter placed Moishe Rabbeinu as he's eliciting the Yud Midas Harachmim for the Chet HaEgel, which is a darge with his no pagam, and it's higher than all Hagbolas, and therefore yesh koinei lomei b'sha'achas. Not just forgiven, but koinei lomei is explained in the Maimer. So that's why Shabbos is loisevaru ish, because Shabbos is the avodah of tshuva, and tshuva ilah, which applies even to tzaddikim, and dafkim etayich simcha. And that's why the Gemara learns, that was the previous paragraph of the last Ois, of Ois Vav, the last paragraph of Ois Vav, that the Gemara learns and the Zohar learns from the pasuk Leisavaru Eish that there's no Einish on Shabbos. Bez din l'mata, and likewise l'mayla, there's no Einish. That's because Shabbos is such a darge where there's not shaykh any blemish, and therefore any Einish, any punishment, cleansing. The punishment doesn't mean punishment as we understand conventionally. As we mentioned last night at Sarah Rivers in our talk, here in this world, punishment is you transgressed whatever law, so now hurt. Now you're going to hurt. And the idea is it's supposed to be deterrent, that you won't and do it again and someone else won't do it, because you're going to sit in jail, you get a big fine, you get lashed, whatever it is. Whatever society imposes considers to be fair punishment. But in Torah mitzvahs and Yiddish Rabbi chas v'shalom, there's no such thing. You transgress my will, now you're going to pay for it, you're going to hurt. Chas v'shalom. The punishment is a consequence, it's the cleansing. It's like if you eat candies, you get a cavity. And that hurts when you get a cavity. That's a punishment. It's a consequence of the choice. Likewise, the reward, the schar, is not you did a mitzvah, now you're going to be rewarded. The reward is the connection to the Eibush, to the mitzvah forged. Schar mitzvah, that's the deeper meaning of that. Akoponim, but even that's not Shaykh Shabbos. Because Shabbos is the avodah of Pnimis HaNefesh. Shabbos, Oisi is Toshuv, Tshuva Ilah, reaching a level where there's no pagam l'chatchila, and it's all hamshachas chadosh, as a recreation, not just a reset button, but recreation on a higher level than creation before. So he says at the end of the Ois, Azeh b'melim mizbatel ha'inshim v'agenim. So the whole union of Einish and Genim, even as cleansing, is not negeya, because at this level there's no pagam at all. Ois Zion. V'zehu Gamashakos b'medrash. Now going back to the beginning of the Maimon, the Medrash, that the Medrash says that there are two chukim and they're both great. You don't know which one is greater, and the conclusion is that Parah is greater because Pesach needs Parah. To bring the Korban Pesach, you need Tahara. the mashal of the two matrons, the one that needs the other, so the one that is lesser. So there's two mitzvahs that the Torah calls chukim, Chukas ha-Pesach, Chukas ha-Torah, which is Torah. They're both similar. We don't know which one is greater. So first of all, we have to understand that part of the Medrash. The Medrash is stressing that they're both great, and on some level, before we go deeper, we don't know which is greater. There should be recognition of a common greatness. In other words, what he's saying is, the Medrash could have just said there's two chukim, and then go straight to the point that Torah is greater, and even bring a mashal. But the Medrash gives a whole arichas that shneihem chukim ve'ata yedeya eze chukah gedola. You don't know. You're not supposed to know till you discover this profound insight. This is similar to Torah and Yidden that the Tonat Ve'Eliyah Rabbi brings, that the Medrash, the Chassidus quotes all the time, that two things preceded the world, Torah and Yidden, and you don't know which one is greater, because Taki, from our perspective, you shouldn't know. And then comes Atzmos, maybe you should know the Yid is greater. But that's not supposed to be obvious. That's part of the whole Avodah. So, the Niklolis, you're not Torah mitzvah, so why do we, first, what's the general? First, appreciation. That's necessary, and that is the Torah mitzvahs, Bechlal, in Bechinas Chukah. You have to know that the Torah mitzvahs is a chayk. Bechlal, meaning, an Torah mitzvahs tzrichelis chukim. Torah mitzvahs have to be in Yiddish angekritz, benefesh adam, engraved. That's the first thing you have to know. No differentiation. The first thing we have to know is has to be pnimius, has to be a chukah. Everything is a chukah. And then we probe deeper, and after that's established. So then, yeshnei sugim, avedis tzadikim, avedis abali tshuva. Then we are ready to appreciate. Okay, do you still see me? Because there's a pop-up here that's saying I'm signed out. So tell me, guys, am I signed out? No.
You're here. It's good.
Still going. Still breathing. No, Baruch Hashem. So the first thing we have to know is that Avodah is chukah. You have to become one with the Avodah and the Pnimius, and the whole life is the whole Avodah of there should be more and more Pnimius. But then in this guf additionally, two sugim Avodah tzadikim with the Bali Tshuva, represented by Chukas ha-Pesach. Chukas ha-Pesach is what? Shekshuri mitzias Mitzrayim. So this is the birth. Everybody's born innocent. Shachon al-Matan Torah, and this is a preparation of Matan Torah, and there was a giddy rise to the top without any setback. Initially, with this tzadikim culminating in Matan Torah, that's one avodah. Then came the Chet HaEgel. So then there's the avodah of tshuva, v'chukas ha-Torah, shiparas ha-duman, avodah tshuva. And the Medrash tells us that both are similar. And you don't know and shouldn't know which one is greater. What thing of Gedolah? Now it goes into the nuance of this. Which one is greater? The word he uses is Gedolah. So what's the meaning of Gedolah? K'mishakosov. Godel Havayim Hulam Yed V'Legdilosei Ein Cheke. The pasuk mentions the word Godel twice. Great is the Eibishter, very praised, and to his greatness there is no fathoming. Sheyesh Bezeh Beis B'chinas. There's two again of Gedolah, Agdula the Shem Havaya, the first Gedolah of Shem Havaya, Godel Havaya. Shibe B'chinas Ishtalshalos, that Shem Havaya that Shaykh Ishtalshalos. The second half of the pasuk, v'inyan legdulosei ein cheker, that shalamayim mishtalshalos. Shalachei ne'emah. Therefore, when it comes to the second gedula, it says v'legdulosei stam, even higher than Shem Havaya. Did I say Shem Havaya twice? No. Did I say that? It says it once in the pasuk. Yeah. The first one, Ishtalshalus, his greatness, not identifying a name, is a reference to higher than Ishtalshalus, higher than Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the whole system, the divine system. The Ma'alim Yishem Havayid, L'Yisram is B'Shem, they can't be conveyed in any name, B'Os, not a letter, V'Kotz, or a crown or a stroke of a letter. More in detail now, the Yitzias Mitzrayim, which is the Avodas Tzadikim. That's the what of Godul Havaya Hulam Yoid. So that was the Gila B'Chin Hashem Havaya. What was the Chiddush of Yitzias Mitzrayim? Gila Hashem Havaya. Moshe Kos, as David told Moishe Rabbeinu Ve'er, and I appeared to the others Bekel Shaddai. However, Shmi Havaya Loine Daitila. He didn't know me as my Gila Hashem Havaya, which now will come. You will by Matan Torah. And therefore go tell the Yidden that the Gilui that they're going to merit as a result of the whole Shibud and so on is on the Havaya. Which Bechlal, is our Klol, it's not Torah Mitzvahs, that's Torah Mitzvahs. Keduash HaMitzvahs Tluyim B'Shem Havaya. All mitzvahs are connected to Shem Havaya. He sends us to the Zohar. Look at the Torah, I didn't look it up. I think the Torah is Chlal, Torah, Yud, is Chachman, then there's mitzvahs, which is, in general, mitzvahs could be, the Vav could be the final Hey. I guess the different ways to make that association. But in general, Yud Kei Vav Kei certainly goes on the four parades, Pshat Rem, Drush, and Sod. At any rate, so Torah mitzvahs is all reflected.
The details of the mitzvah, that they have to be certain time, certain zman, certain measurements. That's the union of Havaya too.
Okay. All right. So the mitzvahs are Tloyim Mishem Havaya, V'zeh, in Godol Havaya, that's Godol Havaya. So that goes on what Torah mitzvahs? I have to look inside it. Because it's connecting to the Daladosis. Omnam Pora Aduma, who Ingen Avedis Hatshuva. Pora Aduma is Avedis Hatshuva, Kemavu, Bedrushi Pora Aduma, Balakot the Torah, like he explains in Lakot the Torah, Beprati says Bedrushi Shnastaf Chavtes, which this Maimon is based on, in part of the Reb Marash. Shepora Kabbalis Mismala, that Pora receives from the left meaning the Pnei Sherish Bemerkova, which is of Gvura. So Paraduma is a reflection of the Parad of the Pnei Sher. Just Agav, I'm going to mention this because I'm talking about it a lot on Sher now too. We've spoken about it in the past, but just in the Kuda, the Cheta Egel, it's a Dvar Pella, but Yosef, how is it possible after Matan Torah, Anech Hashem Alekecha, Yitzias Mitzrayim, and the Kriyas Yamsuf, the Yidden should, the 40 days later, serve Egel Azov. So there's many levels to the Chet, but the Shorish and the Pnimius of it was that they wanted to replicate the Pnei Shorish of Merkava. They simply argued that Moishe didn't come back. Why should he come back and deal with us? He went in a one-way trip like Nadav and Avihu. Didn't take up any care packages. He's there 40 days and 40 nights. He's Dovuk and Alikus, and he's not coming. So that's why they didn't turn to Aaron. Turn to Aaron? No, it's be the same problem. We want infallible leadership. And what's infallible leadership? A malach. There's no choice. Not going to be lost in love, in Kleis and Nefesh, and in the Srafim every day. They're back to where they started. But all of the Gaguyim, it's the same story every day. You can predict tomorrow where he is. But a Yid, a human being, Kleis and Nefesh, Mesiras Nefesh, God. So we can't afford that. To have a leadership, it's going to abandon us because it's just he becomes absorbed in Nichlel and Likus with Mesiras Nefesh and Gaguyim and Kisufim and longing. So they wanted a Malach. And what Malach? The Malach they saw by Matan Torah. They saw the Kis Yaakov, they saw the Pnei Shor, and the Pnei Shor, Gvura, Gvura means nimshach lamata, and there's no deviating. Put the yoke on the ox.
There's something specific that they saw for sure.
Yeah, they saw the egel was the manifestation of the penetration by cover, just like the paraduma. The paraduma is the chet. The egel should come and be mechaper on the. No. They saw that and realized that this is the perfect agency, the perfect oracle. And in fact, paraduma is the mother being mechaper on the egel. Take the part they show should make over. So he says here, Shapara Kabbalah is mismala. So what's the whole chet altogether? It's a tremendous thing. The answer, of course, is so. What's wrong with the malach? The answer is a malach is a memutza, and the yid is not a memutza. There's many levels to this, but I just want to bring out this nakuda. That to be a leader, the leader has to be part of the people, has to feel their pain, and he has to be part of them, feel their joys. And malach is detached and give advice. The advice won't work, and the brachas are not going to work because there's no empathy, there's no connection. A leader has to be part of the people, and it's a tremendous lesson in life to lead effectively as a parent, even in a business, and certainly in every area. Teacher, sit there just pontificating information is not leadership. You have to be nislabish with the people in their world and feel their world, and then the leadership is effective. And the story we've told you many times, which we'll repeat again, because it's such a beautiful story. The story, the Rebbe told the story actually, Purim Tavshin Chaf, and the story is also in his Rishimis. In each place, it's not complete. He put the two together. It's the whole sipur. The story is in the Rebbe Rashabas, that's not more than 5 years old, between 4 and 5, and his brother Zalman Aaron was 7 years old. So they were playing. What did these children play? They played Rebbe and Chassid. That was the whole world. Who's going to be the Rebbe? The Rebbe is the older brother, Zalman Aaron. He puts in a hat, I think upside down. He puts in a hat. He sits by a table, and the Chassid Shalom Ber approaches him. Okay, what does he approach for tikkun? What's the tikkun? The Rebbe says that the previous Shabbos or the Shabbos before, he ate nuts, walnuts, or nuts, or even almonds. The Rebbe in the Siddur says that the Baal Nefesh, a person, Shemaim shouldn't eat nuts on Shabbos. It's very hard to eat them away without violating Boirer, taking the good from the bad. So he says to him, the Zalman says to him, the tikkun, it's called Razor, which means secret. Zalman was a Ish Godel B'Yoysa, and he is a child, you see. So he tells him the tikkun is 3-stage tikkun. Number 1, you should daven in the Siddur. I guess because the chet happened on Shabbos, so that gosh Shabbos. Not by heart, not by heart. Say it inside the Siddur. And then he says, Machlal, you should daven in the Siddur. And then he added, even a bracha you should say in the Siddur. But the mother, the Rebbe and Rivka, who saw was watching this whole little story, so she sees that later that Shalom Ber is not following the advice. He isn't making bracha, he's not from the Siddur. So she asks him, Shalom Ber, or whatever how she called him, why aren't you listening to the advice? So he tells his mother in Yiddish, as Nishkin Rebbe on the Eitzet nicht helfen. He's not a Rebbe, and the Eitz is not going to work. And then he says, imagine what this child says to his mother. Says why, she says, and he didn't give a sigh before he answered me. And then he said, nicht the Eitze welche helft, said the krecht was helft. It's not the advice, it's the sigh that comes with the advice that helps. A malach can't give a sigh, doesn't know what it means. A leader has to give that krecht. So we learned the stories, not stam. And this is the pella. The pella is that when you ask a bracha from the Rebbe, you need panos, the children. It's much more important to him than for you. He feels this need more so than I myself do. That's a leader. And the stories we told that illustrated that. Okay. So back to the paraduma. So what is he saying? Shapor Kabbalis Mismola. Por is Mekabel. It says Pnei B'Yamin. That's the vision. The Pnei I'm sorry, on the left. Gvura. That's the end of tshuva. So he explains, what's tshuva? If to fix, what are we fixing? From Gevurah, of course, comes, because Gevurah is tzimtzum, so Gevurah not in the right place is the makar of klippa, a negative fire, a fire of klippa. So therefore, the avodah of tshuva is that's the paradum has to be burned, completely burned. The whole meaning of Gevurah, the whole avodah is Gevurah. First of all, itself has to red is Gevurah, and it's Pnei Shoir, which is Gevurah, and it has to be totally burnt in fire. Because this is the avodah of tshuva. The avodah, what's the avodah? Lisra, if it's called atziyuri, ma'bilti ritzuyim. Tshuva means to burn all that the tzir means, the animal, the behemoth is burned. All of the negative tziyurim, all of the negative expressions that are undesirable have to be burned. And what's left? The ash. What's the ash? The kavan is not to destroy. He said the kavan is to destroy the tzir. Where is this desire? Where is this drive expressed? So before the tshuva, the drive was Rahman al-Tzlan in destructive things, taivas and so on. So now we have to redirect that in kedusha. Take the ashes, and this causes the ultimate purity. And therein lies the purity. So just in a few brushstrokes here, a few words here, explains the whole paradum and the whole avodah tshuva. There's more barichas in my modern that he points to. So what are we saying? That the avodah of paraduma, the avodah of tshuva, which is higher than Torah and mitzvahs, and that is the second part of the pasuk. For His greatness is unfathomable. The whole thing of tshuva is unfathomable. I messed up. It's finished. You're out. And here's the recipe. This is how you make a cake. You don't follow the recipe, your cake fails. Goodbye, Charlie. Tshuva is able to retroactively redeem it. It's because it draws on a level, it's taka hide and all akbolas, ein cheker. And draws on a level where I asked you to do something and you didn't, and nothing changed in the relationship. But I begged you, please do this and do it this way. No. And still the Abishah says, it's okay. Nothing has changed, no blemish. Ein cheker. This is a love and a connection that is unfathomable, that nothing can get in the way. So this is Shalomai, and that's what Shuvah draws on. Shem Havaya Gufa, because this is you give me the Sarachim. Since Shem Havaya itself, when you Shem Havaya Dila Eila, this is the higher Shem Havaya Shalomai, Shem Havaya Dila Sata, which is higher than the lower Shem Havaya, which is Ishtaushalus. And that's why he says 2 times Havaya. Where's the 2 times Havaya he's referring to? Not in this pasuk. Because he brings in the second.
Hashem Kel Racham B'Chanun.
No, that's the. Yeah, he brings that pasuk, but that's another one or that one. Let's just read it. Like he's bringing, and like it's written in Sarachamim, so that's another pasuk he's bringing to. So the Ombre, which is referring to now, is another pasuk. I'm missing it. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, Al pasuk, yeah, Paradumba, that was the question. That was one of the questions. The beginning of the Maamar. What does he say? 2 times Shem Havaya. Vidabar Havaya al Moishe zeh Chukas ha'Torah shetzivur Havaya, and that is similar to Havaya Hashem Havaya. You give me the Sarachamim. Okay, Good. If you should be in your tshuva, tzarich la'amshik on the beginners havaya de le'ela, because tshuva has to draw on havaya de le'ela. So explaining the medrash. So the medrash starts off that both are the inyan of what of chukah, and both are mamshich shem havaya. What both? The avodah that's a tzadikim to the mitzvahs, the avodah of tshuva. You have to know that which is Gedoylis Parish, Pesach Tzrichinla. That all the ones who eat the Korban Pesach need her. That the one that is Tomei will take from the ashes of the Chatos. That even the tzaddik needs to do tshuva. K'mayim, like it says in Zohar. That's interesting. It's not in Zohar. It brings in the Torah. Like upon the Mashiach also, that's of a tzaddikai b'tshuva. The Mashiach will make the tzaddikim do tshuva. V'hainu she'achidush is chadash b'yis Mashiach. You know, it's a tshuva b'kol echad v'yachad. That the chiddush of b'yis Mashiach is tshuva within every person. Hein b'tzaddikim shegam etzam yin tshuva. Number one, the tzaddikim will do tshuva, and a bigger chiddush. V'gam b'bali tshuva yischadish b'yis Mashiach tshuva na'ila yosef. Even in the bali tshuva, Mashiach Sidis comes to bring a higher level of tshuva. Let's revisit that, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow.